Hey, what's going on, team? It's Ricky with Learn Plan Profit. Hope you guys are all having a good start to the morning. I'm going to start sharing my screen just so you guys can see exactly what it is that I am looking at. And here we go. So UWT is beginning to push up. So I'm going to go in here with 4,000. All right, so as of right now, /CL ended up changing its overall direction. One of the things that I want to point out is that it was showing signs of an uptrend. We're getting consolidation here. If you're part of the Learn Plan Profit team under the trade ideas section since the morning, I've been keeping everyone up to date about like /CL above the EMA line, huge push up, and kind of just keeping everyone up to date with the overall direction of how this thing was consolidating, and then had a strong push up and then was pushing up altogether. Nothing special, but as you guys could see, I bought, right? And then I was up about $600 when it had a strong push up, and then altogether had a strong change of direction. I had to cut losses, and my average purchase price was like 12.39, if I'm not mistaken. I really want to say that that was my average purchase price. You guys can do the math. This was where I bought, and had to cut my losses. There's a quick change of direction, and this is just like, it's the unfortunate part about trading, right? Is that patterns tend to repeat themselves. They don't have to. I did a very poor job managing my risk. I was actually getting ready to set up the live stream and to altogether like get ready to lock in profits. I was up already $600 on that trade alone, and I felt comfortable enough to lock it in, right? And as soon as I was about to set my order, right, as I was getting everything set up, it just quickly changed its direction. Again, this was something that was, showing signs of a support around this general area. It normally gets rejected around, when it makes higher highs, and even around like, 56.40, that would have made sense. But that just was not the case on how things ended up, playing out. And that's just part of the game, right? That's just part of trading. It changed its direction. It no longer made higher highs. It broke below this. I announced it to the group, and then I pretty much just kind of went from there. So as of right now, UWT is kind of just consolidating. It's not making higher highs by any means. So we're watching this closely. The MACD looks good. The RSI looks decent, but again, there is no confirmation that we're making higher highs right now. And I already went in again with a small position size, and there it goes. Just completely breaking its pattern. Making lower lows on /CL. Yeah. It is going to be a rough day. I'm already digging myself in a bigger and bigger hole, so I'm going to have to be extremely selective. Just so you guys could see, I'm down 1.7%, so $1,700. And the market opened about 26 minutes ago. It's just been, it's been frustrating trying to, I wouldn't even say like try to find the bottom on my first trade on UWT. I felt like made a lot of sense. This one might have been a little bit more aggressive because there was no confirmations of higher high, right? But this one 100% made sense. I could have done a better job locking in profits, but that change of direction really got me. So actually, I don't think I have the chat open. Oh shoot. Let me go ahead and pull that thing up and get you guys to be tuning in. Here we go. Pop out chat. Nice. Alrighty. All right. So there it goes. UWT now beginning to recover. And there it goes, pretty much back where I bought it at 1220, 1221. The MACD again beginning to curl back up. We're going to wait a little bit more for confirmation on this side. So just so you guys can see it a little bit more clear, this is pretty much what's going on now. This was showing signs of an uptrend pattern, changed its overall direction, began to sell off, right? So it broke below the SMA line, broke below the middle VWAP, and then now, as you guys can see, the MACD is beginning to curl back up. The RSI is indicating that it's oversold, which is great, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything if we don't get that price to follow that uptrend pattern, right? So here we go. It's beginning to try to push up. We'll see if it actually does. I'll get my order ready. And nope, getting rejected once again. So, yeah, I'm just going to wait out. Let me make this a little bit smaller so I can see your guys' messages. Yeah, so we have our alerts set here. And then there's just going to be so many things that are going to be acting as a resistance. The EMA line, the middle VWAP, the SMA line, and for it to get back up to that uptrend pattern, it just aggressively sold off that. I think we're going to have to be a little bit more patient on this one. One of the things that we did call out is if you go back to the learn, plan, profit trade ideas, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so around 649, natural gas had to break below the EMA line. Natural gas was showing signs of an uptrend, and then it broke below the EMA line and began to make lower lows. So again, this was kind of the break. So when this thing sells off, then that means that DGAS will then begin to push up. So again, now this thing is approaching that middle VWAP and that SMA line. So a potential resistance for DGAS and natural gas approaching a potential support around these general indicators. So one question, can simulation trading accounts trade pre-market hours? To my understanding, they cannot. And you also don't have access to being able to scan with like a study filter or something like that. So that is in a sense kind of like the downside of a simulation trading account. But again, the whole point of you using a simulation trading account is to kind of practice, right? So the whole simulation trading account will show like this like orange or yellowish kind of like border and stuff like that. And then I think it says like simulation or some paper trading or something like that on the top left hand corner. I think you have to activate your active trader. You could also contact TD Ameritrade, and then they can help assist you in being able to set that up. It's pretty simple. Here we go. Looks like UWT is trying to push back up. We'll see if it actually happens. Simulation is what it... Okay. Here we go. We'll see if we get a push. I do want to remind you that UWT, as of right now, is a descending pattern. It covered quite a bit, but it literally gave it all back, in a matter of minutes. This is where it closed at. This is how much it was up during pre-market hours, right? And I've been watching it all pre-market, and then this is where it's at right now. So pretty much almost a break even, and you can see that with the difference. It looks like it's ready to push, right? So the MACD looks good, but it's just not following, right? It's just continuously getting rejected, and there it goes again. So it doesn't matter what the MACD says. It doesn't matter what the RSI says. Like, we can use that as a reference, but at the end of the day, like we all know, the way that the actual, like, confirmation is key, right? And waiting for it to actually confirm an uptrend and higher highs and all that stuff, that is always, in my eyes, again, that's my opinion, in my eyes, more important than any indicator. So because of that, especially just with the loss that you guys just saw me take. I took like a $400 loss or something like that in a matter of like 2 or 3 minutes after it, tried to push up and then got rejected. So, no, there's no reason to. Oh yeah, no, any positions? Yeah, 2 bad trades. So I don't know if you tuned in late, but we were, I was up about $600 because we identified this reversal, right? If you're part of Learn Plan Profit, I was talking about it when it was consolidating, it broke above the EMA line, all that stuff. I was up about 600, getting ready to lock in profits, getting ready for the live stream, and then altogether just changed its direction. Sometimes that happens. Again, it didn't follow through with its previous pattern of making higher highs like we're seeing right here. And because of that, I could have looked at the MACD a little bit more. But again, I still saw there to be potential for this thing to continue to push up. I didn't see the MACD to be too much of a important indicator during pre-market hours. And it just sold off, and I ended up taking a $1,200 loss when I was already up $600. So if you think about it, it's almost like $1,800. And then I got back in again thinking that it was going to reverse, and it did a false reversal and then made lower lows. So right now I'm at 1,700, which is about 1.7% with what I'm trading with. Here we go. So it's right back around where I bought it at, and there it goes. It's beginning to push up. This is like mainly probably like we're not really making higher highs yet though. Like we're above the EMA line, but we're not making higher highs, right? We're not getting confirmation of this thing continuously pushing up. So are we partaking when the action is happening? Not necessarily. Like right now we're still kind of in that consolidation phase. So if you're trying to be efficient with your trades, there's no reason to get in yet, especially when UWT is a descending pattern as right now. So was there any news released at this time? So we can check. Not that I see. Let's see how this performed. Okay, so it looks like there could have also been an influence. So you guys could see that right around 645. Similar drop on /NQ, that it had a pretty solid pullback right around 645, 647. You can see that MW oil, that supply concerns move back. So we've talked about that it can have an influence on this. And there it goes. It actually got rejected. So perfect example of why not to get into early. So we could see that right around that 645 area. I would say that it definitely had an influence on that sell-off. So yeah. What's the length of his EMA? Just like I explained in the course, it's 15. Moving average exponential, you can see that right here. It says 15. Appreciate that. I like that. Congrats, Christopher. Natural gas consolidating. One of the things that I do want to point out is that look at the MACD, it's beginning to push back up. The RSI is a little bit more on the oversold side. And again, today is the natural gas report. Natural gas is looking very bullish today. So, right, it's pushing up quite a bit. It's doing some consolidations here. So we'll see if it actually begins to make higher highs and begins to push up. So, Ricky, how many hours do you spend trading or day trading up? It depends. Sometimes I can trade for an hour. Sometimes I trade for 4 hours, 5 hours. It depends on, if an opportunity presents itself. Alrighty, /CL is selling off once again. Back at the support. Are we going to make lower lows? Here we go. Look at the MACD curling back down. Look at the RSI pulling back down. That's funny. So these questions of like what does the MACD do, I'm not too sure, right? Well, it's covered in the course, and I also do have a video on it on YouTube that you're more than welcome to check out. So the questions that I answered during this live stream are more based off of like technical analysis or, you know, explaining my thought process, right? Not necessarily like what indicators I use, because that's already explained. Can everyone trade pre-market using Thinkorswim as long as you do not have a simulation trading account? You just have to call and ask for extended hours, and yeah. I don't know. Looks like we're about to make lower lows. So again, if this thing makes lower lows, that means that DWT is about to make higher highs. Look at that quick change of direction. Something that was selling off and then just quickly begins to change its direction due to that news, right? Crazy. What is the advantage of trading during pre-market hours? If an opportunity presents itself during pre-market hours, then you're able to trade it. That's all. Do you get tired of sitting in front of a computer for hours every day? I think there's more things or better things to get tired of. That's just part of my job, so I don't have a reason to complain about it. Yeah. Almost done with LPB course. Excited to be in paper trading practicing. I like that. Congrats. I think it's exciting when you're going to be able to practice everything that you learn. Here it goes. Jesus. Of course, appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, you have to understand that there's been so much news lately that's just been making the market that much more inconsistent, and that's why I've been trying to do my part, like on YouTube, just to remind everyone that, you know, with all this inconsistency, right? Like this thing was pushing up and then trending down, try to push up, try to trend down, try to push up, now it's trending down. There's just so many inconsistencies that it makes it that much more difficult for you to understand what's pushing up and what's pushing down. And because of that, I just like reminding people to be more selective, not telling people what to do, but just to remind them that, hey, look, this is how the market is currently reacting. And if you agree, then you should probably be more selective with what you choose to swing trade or what you choose to day trade. And that's all, right? I like that, Chris. Congrats. All right, so we have about 19 minutes until the natural gas report comes out. There it goes, DWT pushing up on a Thursday. Yeah, it's good to hear you remind me daily. Yep. Some people get frustrated about it, like that I say the same thing too often, but you know, I think consistency is super important. Where can we watch the report? Here. You can watch it on your screen, you can watch it on mine. It's yeah. I don't know if you've what's it called? So when do you normally cut losses? When there's a break of pattern or I hit my max loss? I would call your brokerage and see what's going on. I don't think something that any of us can really help you out with. What's going on, Crazy Gamer? Big pullback or big push on /CL. That was a very strong push. All right, so we have /CL as of right now with a very strong push. Again, overall, this thing was selling off. So we'll see if it continues to push up or if it gets rejected here and then continues to pull back down, right? That's reacted to that too. No. Here we go. Let's see if we actually begin to see higher highs or a pullback on /CL. That 100% makes sense. A stop loss is a market order after it's triggered because the market price goes below that price point. So if it sells off quick enough, it will fill at whatever price point. You might want to look into a stop limit, which will sell at only the price point that you set at. But with a stop limit, if the market price passes through your stop limit too quickly, you run the risk of not getting filled. Again, this is something that's explained in the course. Yeah, that's not something that I would know. I don't know how you're getting filled at a lower price point than the day's low. Good morning, Ricky. I made $142. My first $142 this morning at Quick Call. I like that. Congrats. No, of course. Here we go. We're getting a little bit of a pullback. Let's see if it follows. DWT should then be trying to bounce. So I have my second screen over here, and this is where I look at /CL or whatever feature, right, I'm looking at. Now I'm getting kind of like, sidetracked with how things are going just because of how we started off the day. We started off so strong. I swear, I was just like, I felt so good with the position that I took. It was going according to plan. Everything was smooth. Decided to get myself a glass of water. And then I just see, /CL go bloop and completely sell off. So why don't you have multiple windows on one screen? I have a quad setup. That's fine. I don't find it to be too effective like that. I don't need 4 screens, but yeah. Here we go. It looks like UWT is beginning to push up. We have 13 minutes until the natural gas report. So one of the things that I want you guys to see is that /CL is again beginning to pull back. If it breaks below the EMA line and begins to make lower lows, again, it has this margin to cover, which then look at the MACD, look at the RSI. You ask yourself the question, does it make sense for this thing to have the potential to pull back? And if this thing does pull back, then that is in favor of DWT, which will then push up and stuff like that. So the reason that I'm not getting in is the margin of profit is not at least 1%. So it meets all my criteria except for the margin, potential margin of profit. So, yeah. What trades are you in right now? I am in nothing. I'm just watching. If you put half your price on the Yosh and the other half on drip and place orders 10 seconds before the report comes out, would you make money guaranteed? That's just never been an approach that I've never done that, where I'll enter both ETFs and then cut losses on one and hope the other one shoots up. It's just like, why not just wait for confirmation, right? Because there's multiple times that, one can go up, one can go down, you'll cut losses, but then all of a sudden if it begins to change directions, now you took a double loss. So at the end of the day, why put yourself in a bad position when you can simply just wait for confirmation and see what's going on, right? If you want to be part of the rally, then great, but I don't even trade the report, I trade the reaction and what happens after. So at the end of the day, I just don't find that to be the most effective. I find it to be most effective to be patient, to wait for confirmation, and to allow the opportunity to present itself. I feel like if you try to take both sides, you can ask anyone that's been part of Learn Plan Profit. I have never taken a position of both ETFs at the same time and hope that one goes up. That's just not the way that I trade. Yeah, looks like DWT performed exactly like we expected. So it pushed up. It actually pushed up about 1%. There it goes. It's actually making higher highs. /CL is selling off. But yeah, so strong push up. Looks like it's most likely going to continue to uptrend. But yeah. It's been a rough week, team. No trading yesterday. The day before, I made $1,000, which honestly is not that impressive. It's 1%. And then the day before that, I lost 700. It's been a slow week. And I haven't been feeling good. I've been sick, as you guys can maybe tell by my raspy voice. It's just been a rough week. But I think that, we've had weeks where nonstop, just green days, right? Like 2 to 3 week streaks. And this is a perfect example that those streaks do not always last. And, it's just to remind you that you have to be super selective with what you choose to trade because the market can change and you have to be able to pivot, right? You have to be a problem solver. So looks like crude oil is still selling off. DWT is still pushing up. So are you going to trade the reaction live? It's been a while. David, so again, if you've ever watched the trade, I don't trade the report. I trade what happens after. I trade the recovery. The best way for me to put it. So will I trade it? I don't know. It sometimes takes time for it to consolidate. So if that's the case, then no. There has been times that natural gas could affect crude oil. Do you trade during breakout? Nope. Nope. Here we go. We're getting some form of consolidation. It looks like it's trying to pull back, but again, DWT is a very strong uptrend right now, so I don't. Natural gas breaking below the middle VWAP. Look at that. Strong pullback, right? Wow. That's pretty sketchy. Just to let you guys know, for those that are asking, like, why is this weird or sketchy? This future represents NASDAQ, right? So if I go for any stock that's traded on NASDAQ, it will most likely mirror, right, that same pattern. Did I type it in incorrectly? Do you guys see this? Shot might be a little different. Nope, still follows it. Let's see the infamous Tesla. Haha. Strong push down. Ooh. Oh man. Well, now we know that /NQ is super oversold, right? So the inverse ETF or correlating ETF is TQs, so this is oversold, right? Today is an interesting day, folks. So this is where the market closed yesterday, and this is where we're at right now. So it's not a huge drop, it's definitely down, but it's also very oversold right now. So I could definitely see why it can begin to maybe potentially find a support. But yeah. It's just something to be cautious about, right? Yeah. Wouldn't it be a good time to purchase if it's oversold? No, the general idea is that, yeah, you want to buy when something is a good deal, but let me ask you this. Just because something is selling off, does that mean that it's going to stop selling off, right? At least for myself, I'm a day trader. I don't want to buy and hold something. So at the end of the day, if it continues to sell off, I will only lose more money. My biggest focus and something that we try to empower all of our members within Learn, Plan, Profit is that, DWT is pushing up right now. Look how much /CL sold off. So /CL continues to sell off. Does it make sense for me to buy /CL? Well, no, because it doesn't mean that it's going to recover within the day. And because of that, again, if you want to grow your account, then you should partake in patterns that are showing signs of growth. I do agree that it's important to get a good deal, but at the end of the day, I think that direction is much more valuable, in my opinion, in the way that I trade in comparison to anything else. And DWT just shot up. Wow. The market should be pulling back pretty aggressively right now. It's still consolidating, but let's see. Look at that drop. Holy smokes. Talk about a sell-off. Wow. Yeah, there has to be some form of news that came out for that push. It's still selling off. There it goes, still selling off. Wow, look at that. About to make lows on the day. Supply concerns move back into focus for oil. No, that was at 647. That was a while ago. That was the initial push down. I'm going to set my alert for when we make lows for the past 24 hours. We have 3 minutes until the report. This is pretty exciting though, right? Or is it just, I think it's pretty cool. So there you go. Again, a lot of consolidation. If you guys check out the 180-day chart, right? We talked about this pattern where, this SMA line, again, anything can happen. This thing can shoot up to 7,900 and I could be completely wrong. But if you guys don't watch the video, if you guys didn't watch the video that I made a very simple video explaining like all of this before it actually happened. And I made this video about the 3 signs before a pullback. It doesn't look like a lot of people cared. 100% I understand. It might not be something that you might be focused on, but all I pointed out is that this SMA line has been acting as a resistance here, here, and here. And for all those that have a lot of money in stocks and are influenced by the overall market condition, then it made sense on why this thing could begin to pull back. And if it begins to pull back, then all the stocks within NASDAQ, S&P 500, and Dow Jones will most likely follow as well, meaning that it's not a good deal right now, that it's more on the overextended side. And like you guys are saying, like after I made that video, there's a couple messages that I received about I've said it. I even said it in the video that fundamentals take over, news takes over. News always will outweigh indicators, right? And technicals. But at the end of the day, when that's not relevant, and Trump can tweet whatever he wants, and that will have a direct influence on the market. But at the end of the day, it's not about hoping something happens, but it's just taking action when it makes sense. And it made sense to me on why this was more overbought than it was oversold. So we have about 1 minute left until there it goes. So we just made lower lows on the day. So here it goes. DWT with a strong push up. Again, the natural gas support is coming out in less than 30 seconds. Here it goes, 20, 19, 18. So again, the report's going to come out. This is either going to shoot the price up or down for UGAS or DGAS. At the end of the day, I am not in any position, right? I don't hold anything. I wait for the report to come out. I wait for one to shoot up, and then I trade the recovery on the inverse. Here we go. There it goes. In favor of natural gas. Strong push up. Right, so although natural gas was downtrending, there's a strong push up on natural gas, and it already looks like it's recovering, but a strong push up, and I wait for this thing to become overbought and overextended, and once it begins to consolidate, and if it begins then to pull back, then I'll go into DGAS. /CL just made even lower lows. There it goes. Look at that. Yikes. Crazy stuff. Market still, pointing down, still selling off. Strong push up on natural gas, but it looks like it didn't last for a very long period of time. So, again, if it doesn't last, then I probably won't trade it. But one of the things, if I were to visualize, and again, I'm just sharing this with you just so you guys have an understanding of what I was looking for. So /NQ, which is the NASDAQ future, just made lower lows. Just so we can see how that looks like. Yep, there it goes. Still, just because it's oversold doesn't mean that we should buy it. I think this is a perfect example. So what my ideal setup looks like is, do you guys see how, natural gas pushed up so much, it became overextended, and then it corrected itself? That's what I want to happen. I want natural gas to shoot up as much as it can. I'm not in natural gas. I'm not in UGAS. I'm not in DGAS. I just want one of the ETFs to become super overbought. So when it begins to consolidate and the news becomes less relevant and it begins to pull back, I can ride the recovery on the inverse ETF. In this case, it would be DGAS as UGAS pulls back. But I don't know if we're going to get that type of setup. And this is where patience and waiting for confirmation comes into play, right? But yeah, it looks like a lot of you guys were pretty active today. It wasn't anything crazy, but yeah, the market was definitely a little crazy today. /NQ is still selling off. /CL still showing signs of a sell-off as well, and no signs of a recovery. DWT is pushing up. It's super overbought, super overextended, but it's crazy, right, to see something push up so much. And hey, it might be due for a pullback. We just have to wait for that overall recovery. There are a couple of people that are tuning in right now that are not part of Learn Plan Profit just because you guys asked for an invitation. All I want to remind you is that if you guys enjoyed /CL just sold off even more. All I want to remind you is that if you enjoyed this live stream and you guys would like to join the Learn Plan Profit team, you guys can scroll all the way down in the description. Just refresh the page, scroll all the way down, and then you guys will get $40 off to join the Learn Plan Profit team if and when you're ready. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Discord or on Instagram so I can answer any of your questions. But I'm going to pretty much leave it at this. I'm going to get something to eat. And the reason why is like, Ricky, why aren't you trading like any of this right now? DWT is still pushing up, but it's super overbought. And when it comes down to natural gas, it looks like it is beginning to pull back, but it's too soon. Oh, there it goes. It's actually pulling back very quickly. This doesn't normally happen. Wow. Okay. And look at that. Look at that recovery. So that's what normally I would try to trade, right? When something sells off and then it finds a support. And you can ask anyone that normally tunes into these live streams. Or to these natural gas or crude oil reports. The recovery sometimes takes 30 minutes to an hour, and sometimes it doesn't even happen within the same day. So this is actually very rare and I think it has to do with the market volatility. It just has been so crazy lately. It's just another reason to be that much more selective. But yeah, again, if I didn't feel comfortable taking the trade, at the end of the day, we don't have to do anything that we're not comfortable with. So I appreciate you guys' time. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Continue working hard. Continue following your dreams. Let your passion be a drive to success. We'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's live trading session. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy.